Hey, what's up, everybody? We're going to create a couple of logos today, as our assignment 2 for Illustrator is coming right up. I wanted to be sure you guys had a little bit of practice creating a logo. I know I went over what a good logo design is, the different characteristics, in the last class for Group B, and I'll be going over that with Group A next time we meet. But we don't need to necessarily know those things before doing the demo, so I figured we just jump right in. So the first one we're going to make is more of a modern kind of trending style logo, and then the other one is kind of the opposite, a more classic retro, if you will, logo design. So let's just jump right in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the rectangle tool, and we're going to create this kind of folded paper style, and maybe I can look it up here so you can see what I mean. You've seen it in places, I'm sure. It's most popular, say like the Netflix logo, but this is the sort of thing we'll be trying to create today. And then, yeah, if I type in Netflix, you notice this. So this style is happening everywhere. It's probably on the down slope of the trend, but Netflix has probably made it the most famous, but it's, like I said, a style that is used quite often for logo lettering. So that's what we're going to try to recreate today. So as I said, grab your rectangle tool, and I'm just going to create a tall, narrow rectangle, and I'm going to make it make it red, and with my selection tool, I'm going to just duplicate that twice more. And I'm holding down Shift Option as I click and drag. So I have three lines here, essentially three very thick lines or rectangles. What I want to do is I'm just going to kind of bring them closer together, and then with the third one, I'm going to grab my my skew or my shear tool. And that can be found under the scale option. Just click and hold, and the drawer will open to reveal the shear tool. And the way this works is when you click and drag the selected item, you can kind of throw it off kilter. And when you hold down Shift, it'll it'll lock in on specific angles. So I'm holding Shift and just moving the top to the left so that it lines up with the top and bottom of the lines that that are next to it. And already you can kind of see what's happening here. And this is a very simple technique. This N now is probably a little too wide to kind of mimic that Netflix look, so I'm just gonna select all of the items and just squash it in there. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold down Shift and select my left and right ascenders. That's what you call those legs on a letter, as an ascender. And I'm just gonna make the red a little bit darker, so I'm just adding a little bit of black to it. That way we can differentiate each piece. So I want to bring the middle piece forward, so I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And we're kind of already there, but there's a couple of other things we can do just to push it a little bit further. And the first would be to grab your pen tool, and I'm going to zoom in here. And I can start right in the crotch of the N here. I'm just going to click right there and then come down the edge, and then a third point at the corner, and then reconnect here to make a very kind of stretched out triangle here, and I'm going to make that black. And as you can see, by doing so, it kind of gives it like that shadow, that sharp shadow. Now this black might be a little too harsh, so maybe I'll start with red and then bring in the black to maybe like a 75% black. That way it's not like a hole in it. That's more of a dark red shadow. And then we're just going to do the same thing over here. Again, starting right there where those lines intersect, move up the ascender, then 1 point down in the very corner and reconnect for your third side. And boom, you have the N of the Netflix logo. It's that easy, folks. You can add a gradient here if you like, and why don't we just try that for like a more kind of 2.0 version of the logo. I'm just copying this, and I can get rid of these now, and instead of those, I'm going to apply a gradient. So I'm going to go to Window, Gradient, pull up my gradient tool here, and I can just click that red and drop it right in, and pull off my white, and then click on the black and add red. Well, I guess we can just click and drag red in there and pull the black down. All right, so let's make this red a little bit darker. Now this technique should be somewhat familiar to you from the emoji demo, just creating custom gradients. As you can see, my gradient is going left to right, which I would rather do top to bottom. So if I grab my gradient tool, I can click from top to bottom, and you can just adjust that any which way. I might go at a slight angle, and maybe I'll start here. Maybe that's a little better. And if I click the diamond here, I can make that even more sharp. There we go, something like that. So now if I grab my selection tool and click this ascender here, I can then, so that's selected, I can then grab my eyedropper tool and click that one, so it just applies the same gradient, and then play around with the angle of that gradient where I want that to fall. And there you go. It is that easy. And so what I'd like to see is for you to create your own letter. I mean, it can be as easy as just applying the same technique, creating a Z, you know, something like that. But change up the colors, and try something that's a little more challenging. Maybe the first letter of your first name, and see what you can come up with. I think it's a cool technique, and I've seen whole alphabets built like this. So you could even convert it into a font, your own typeface if you wanted to. Okay, so that's the first logo we're creating. The second one is slightly more complex, so I'm just going to click all of these and move these over. The next logo we're going to create is a little more along the lines of kind of that seal emblem look. It's a little more traditional looking, and we're going to design for, at least what I'm going to choose is a gym. I'm going to call it the Powerhouse Gym, but if you want to use a different company name, that's fine. Maybe you have something else a little more interesting in mind, but overall structure and process should be the same. So grab your ellipse tool, and we're going to make a perfect circle. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this fairly thick. Let's call it 50 points. You can type that in instead of clicking it 1,000 times like I just did, but go ahead and do that. And then let's make another circle. And I'm going to look for my smart guide. I'm going to start right there in the center. And I'm going to come out to just about here. And then I'm going to bring my number back down to maybe like 5. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to do that again. Somewhere around there. But this time, I'm going to make a dashed line. And I'm going to make it, let's try 3 points. And then I'm going to round my caps. And my gap should be 6. Let's try 2. Kind of just feeling it out here. What I'm looking to create is dots. There we go. Something like that. So I have kind of this dotted pattern now. And let's create yet another circle. Only this time I don't want a dashed line. I want it to be thick again. So there we have kind of this tire emblem look. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like kind of a basic symbol of like some dumbbells in there or something. And then what I want is to have the title to follow the path of the circle and be on the inside of this black. So let's start with the dumbbell first. So I'm going to grab my rounded rectangle tool. And basically this is just a rectangle tool, but it has rounded corners. And I'm just going to make a fairly narrow rectangle here so that the top and bottom are more or less one curve. And I can zoom in here so you can see it a little better. And I'm going to make it a black fill with no stroke. And holding down Shift Command Option, I'm just going to go in and create another one, but then squash it while holding down Option so it squashes from the center. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to stretch it. Okay? So we have 3 lines that are kind of growing as they move to the right. I'm going to select all of these, holding down Shift Option and clicking and dragging to the right. And then I'm going to spin this around just like that. So as you can see, I'm kind of creating like the weights is what I'm imagining here, the weights of a dumbbell. Maybe I'll stretch them out a little more. And now I'm going to grab my regular rectangle tool and I'm going to send a bar right through the center. Something like that. Just kind of center them up there. And maybe that's a little too wide. I'll bring it in together. Something like that. You know, I'm going to get rid of some of these weights. It's looking a little too heavy. That looks a little better. And maybe what I'll do is I'll grab one of these, again, holding Shift Option to copy, duplicate. And then with my scissors tool, I'm just going to cut on those anchor points there. So I'm left with just the curve. If I turn that on its side, Shift Option, and I rotate. There we go. We got some dumbbells. I think that works pretty good. Maybe a little more white space between. And there's our weights. So that's how I got there. There's obviously a number of ways you can create something like this. So I'm not going to be super strict about how you create yours, especially if you're not designing a logo for a powerhouse gym. Maybe you're doing like a gardening logo and you want a flower or a leaf in there. Be creative. Create some sort of high contrast symbol to put right in the center of this logo. Okay, so now I want to put my words here. I'm going to say Powerhouse Gym, then maybe like a tagline underneath. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with an ellipse tool, and then I'm going to draw a perfect circle, and I'm going to give it no fill and no stroke, so you can't even see it. All we have is just the skeleton of the vector shape. And then I'm going to click and hold on my text tool, and you see here we have all kinds of text tools we can use. The one we want is the type on a path tool, so I'm going to select that. So whatever path I click on will be where the type will begin to will appear on. I'm trying to figure out how to explain that, but just click on that path, and as you can see, it gives us some placeholder type before we actually type in the actual name. But whatever path you click on is the path the type will appear. So it works just like regular type, only it's just on a curved line. So what I want to do is I want to find a better font. And again, this is totally up to you. I think what I might do is find something that's very bold. Brothers is kind of cool. Yeah, let's use Bold Brothers. And you may not have the same fonts as me, so just try to find something that you think looks good. So I'm increasing the size here. And the anatomy of type on a path tool is when you select it with the black selection tool, we have these handles coming off here. If you click and drag those, we have 1, which is the start of the text, 2, which is the end of the text right here, and then 3, this little T. It's hard to see it from here, but if I zoom in, it's kind of an upside down T, and that indicates the center of your type and where on the shape it falls. So if I click and drag that T and into the shape, the type will fall inside the shape as opposed to outside. So again, I'm going to click outside, and it'll let you kind of push it where you want it, and it's a little finicky, but push it where you want it to land on the image. So I want it to land obviously on the top center. So I'm just trying to line center up there pretty good. So you can play around with that, and like I said, it's finicky, so you just gotta deal. Something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna make this white because it's obviously gonna go over that black area. And I want to center it up. And I can make it bigger. All right, something like that. So I'm going to do that again for my tagline. I might even increase the font size here because we do have a little more space. Of course, that's going to knock out my alignment, but that's okay. We'll just go back and move it around some more. There we go. Powerhouse Gym. All right, so we're going to do that again. Create a circle. It's going to be transparent, no fill, no stroke. Grab my type on a path tool. And this time I'm going to click down here. I guess that didn't help any. And what's a gym tagline? Comment like reach your potential. All right, that's obviously too big, so I'm going to bring this down. And because this is a tagline, I can also change maybe to regular. Oh, I do want it all caps though. Reach your potential. Zoom in here. I'm gonna click this little T so it's on the inside and on the bottom. Come on. So annoying. So we can move these around. Okay, right there. And again, I'm going to make this white, and I'll move it over here, center it up, and then scale it up. Make this type a little smaller. Readjust. Something like that. That's looking good. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the star tool. I'm just gonna put a couple of stars in between here just to kind of separate the logo from the tagline. And I think I could use one more layer on the outside. And this time I'm actually going to use the star tool. I'm going to make a very large star, but before I let go of my mouse, I'm going to just hit the up arrow on the keyboard to create all of these little points. And then I'm going to hold down the command key and move my mouse in to give me these shallower points, something like that. So I'll make that bigger now. Give this a black stroke and center this up. So basically any of these circles that we're creating in here, they're all centered on top of each other. So I can send this backward. And you know, I don't really like that. Let's see what it looks like. No, I don't like that. Let's try another one. I'm going to add, I'm hitting the up arrow key, adding more points. I think I like that shape a little more. Something like that. Again, these are details that I'll leave up to you. You do what you like. Send it to back. That's better. Okay, so there's our other logo. So you'll notice that this one, while there's a lot of different lines and stuff, it's still kept very simple. We're still working with two colors, black and white. It's very high contrast. There's a lot of space in between each element, so it makes it very readable. So those are all things you want to consider when designing a logo, and those are things we went over in our Thursday group, but I will certainly go over again with the Tuesday group. So stay tuned for that. But as I said, let's see you create one of your own in the paper folding style, and then submit both of these designs. It can be all in one file if you like, but just save it to the server and just label it clearly with logo demo and your name on it somehow. All right, well, I'll see you in class.